can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP. We help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the f***ing difference between winning and losing.
It's down to the wire with Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
Oh, Petey! Oh, Petey!
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, Long Island, New York, and around the country. I've got an echo, Speedy. Lower your mic over there. I don't know what is going on over there on your side of the pipelines over there in Connecticut. You need to fix that, Speedy. There is some kind of echo over there. If you can't do that, we'll put you on the phone, okay? Because it doesn't sound good over there on your side. We do have Speedy Petey on the other line. I've been working tirelessly and hard to try to get this guy's computer working over there. He was supposed to set it up before he went on his nice, fabulous Thanksgiving vacation. Speedy, you need to come out. I will get you on the phone in just a little while because there's too much echo over there. Thank you, Speedy. Goodbye. So I don't know what's. I do not know what that sound is right now. Does anybody hear that? Because I think I do. I don't know what's going on, Speedy, but you need to get off. Disconnect yourself. There's too much echo over there. I'm trying to somehow try to fix this, but my fabulous producer, ladies and gentlemen, is just all over the place today, and he's in Connecticut. I'm happy that he's with his family. I want to apologize to all the fans that we've had so many technical difficulties because he's not in the studios today, so I would like to apologize to all the fans. But anyways, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can also go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You could also do this, guys. If you don't have the app, you go to iOS, and what do? It's very, very simple. On iOS, this is what you do. You put in WWSRN, which is Apple, or you can go to Android and put in Worldwide Sports Radio Network. My hair is a mess. I'm not wearing a hat, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm all over the place today, but I'm here. I'm absolutely here. There is no Speedy Petey in the studio. He was supposed to be on a live feed. We tried Zoom. Zoom was down, and now we're on our Wirecast, and it is up and running, but we've had nothing but technical difficulties throughout the last past, I would say, 45 minutes. So, again, I want to apologize to all the fans that we couldn't get Speedy on. Hopefully, in a little while, we can get him on the phone or something like that so we can continue on, and maybe there'll be some banter. Anyways, it's been a crazy, crazy weekend, guys. And I will say this. With the NFL and the NHL coming back in the next couple of weeks, and the NFL and the NBA coming back with the draft, and now teams are starting to bring in free agency. It's been a crazy, crazy bunch of weeks right now. But I want to get into Week 11. I want to get into the New York Jets, and I know a lot of Jet fans out there are probably upset that the Jets lost yesterday. But the Jets are actually, the last couple of weeks, they've played hard. They've played hard. They put their time in, and they've worked at the best of their ability. But Adam Gase, and we've been saying this over and over again, Adam Gase he doesn't belong there. Right now, the New York Jets, hopefully the season moves faster and faster away. But this is an organization right now that's trying to rebuild. And Joe Flacco being your starting quarterback doesn't really excite you. 15 for 30, 205 yards, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns. That is not something that stands out and sticks out for me as a fan or for any Jet fan, to say the least. You see Frank Gore, 15 carries for 61 yards when Frank Gore is no longer going to be there next year. He's an old man. He's 37, 38 years old. He's on his way out. LaMichael Piron, he had 8 carries. Why is LaMichael Piron touching the ball less than Frank Gore? That's what I want to know. What kind of sense does it make for Adam Gase, yes, the great Adam Gase, decide that Frank Gore should touch the ball more than LaMichael Piron? It doesn't make any sense. Now, Adam Gase in the game took over the play calling. Now, I understand the last couple of weeks, Adam Gase gave it to the offensive coordinator. Adam Gase is just looking over, and that's what the head coach is supposed to do. He's not supposed to be calling the plays. He's supposed to be looking over what the offensive coordinator is calling and what the defensive coordinator is calling. That's what you expect. That's what you try to mimic when it comes to an NFL head coach. But you can go up and down the New York Jets youngsters that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Ashton Davis, he looked good again yesterday. Man, the punter, he's been looking good. He's a borderline Pro Bowl punter right now. LaMichael Piron, we saw him a little bit the last couple of weeks. He's looked good at certain aspects of the game. Denzel Mims, yesterday 3 receptions for 71 yards, led the Jets with 71 yards. No touchdowns, No touchdowns yet this season. And I think it has a lot to do with some of the players like Brashad Perriman coming back. Chris Herndon actually caught the ball twice with 32 yards. This Ty Johnson guy, I don't know where he came from. I mean, who would have known? And Jamison Crowder, who had one reception for 16 yards. Jamison Crowder, who's one of the best slot receivers in the league in the beginning of the season. But the play calling is absolutely horrendous. And yes, they played the Chargers, and the Chargers had an early lead. They were up 24-6 or 24-10 at halftime. And you would think that this was going to be a complete blowout. But no, the Chargers in the second half are not a very good team. They're just not. And you saw on Sunday at 4:30 in the afternoon, the New York Jets come back in a game that they were predominantly going to lose anyways. There was a couple players that stuck out to me in the game on Sunday for the New York Jets. One of them, which I've been talking about since he's come back from the Achilles injury, their 6th-round draft pick, Bryce Hall, who finally got his first starting job as an NFL player on Sunday. Desir got dropped, got released on Wednesday or Thursday of this past week. Joe Douglas decided that the free agent that they brought in the offseason wasn't the right fit for the New York Jets. He just wasn't. But not even that. When you think of the New York Jets in the last couple of weeks, you think of a team that was, everybody says this is the laughingstock of the NFL. They're just that bad. They're just a terrible organization, terrible team. And you would think that these teams would be blowing out the New York Jets. All of them. When you look at the scores the last couple of weeks, if you look at the Patriots score, they lost by 3 points. I think it was 3 points. And then this week they lost by, 7 points? Or 6 points? The New York Jets have not played bad football. They haven't. Now, are they going to win? Do Jet fans want to see the Jets win? The answer is no. What Jet fan would like to see the Jets win? Right now, they have the opportunity to get the number 1 pick, which could be Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. They could also look to possibly trade out of that pick if they get the number 1 pick and then possibly unload or get a bunch of first-round draft picks for Trevor Lawrence or maybe even Justin Fields if he actually gets he becomes the number 1 pick. It's obviously going to be Trevor Lawrence. All in all, when you think of the Jets, you think of a team that's just been undermined, not only from ownership, but the stupid GMs they've brought in, from John Isnick to Tannenbaum to McCagnon. Finally, the New York Jets have a GM in hand that actually knows what he's doing. Now, I know a lot of people look at New York sports. By the way, the New York Mets making the move, bringing in a new owner, which was definitely a lot of fans were crying for over the last couple of years. And I know a lot of Knicks fans are crying for James Dolan to sell the team. And then you look at the New York Knicks and what they've done at pre-draft and after the draft. And they're trying to rebuild this team by drafting the right players, the right fit for the organization. The New York Jets are doing the same exact thing as all these New York teams are trying to do. Right now, let's be honest. What team really stands out in New York? Probably the Yankees. That's about it. The Giants haven't been a good organization since they won the last Super Bowl in 2011. I think they had one winning season with Ben McAdoo, and then the next year they fired him. So the Giants have not been a successful organization for the last 7 years. The New York Jets, they haven't been in the playoffs, I think, for almost 10 years, 9 years. Okay? That's a long time. The last time they were an efficient football team was the Rex Ryan era. 2008, 2009, 2010, right around there, when they went to back-to-back AFC title games. The New York Mets, they've been a decent organization the last couple of years. They've been to a World Series in the last 5. They have some decent players. They have Jacob deGrom. Arguably, you can argue that he's probably the second or possibly the best pitcher in baseball. They have some good young players. McNeil and all the different players we've talked, Conforto, all the young, talented players they have in their farm system, too, that Brody Van Wagenen in the last couple of years has built. But New York sports has been horrendous. Who would think that New York sports, who would stick up for New York sports right now? It's garbage. It's dirt. So you sit back and you dance around and you want to listen. You want to listen to some of your athletes after their games talk about the team and how much growth these teams are going to be. Until you get the right management into place, you're not going to be a good organization. Until you get the right coach into place, you're not going to be a good team. And right now, the New York Jets have transitioned. And I call them the New York Deaths because every single GM and every single coach that has come to the New York Jets has really died after they left this organization. They never got another coaching job. Eric Mangini did. He went to the Browns. He died. He hasn't coached ever since he left the Browns. Adam Gase, he will leave the New York Jets after this year. He will probably never get a head coaching job in the NFL for the rest of his career. I can't see anybody giving him a job. Anybody. That's the problem right now with the New York Jets. And that's why a lot of people think Trevor Lawrence will not come out this year. He'll play his senior year in Clemson because a lot of players say that if you go to the Jets, you go to the Jets to die. Which is so untrue. It is so untrue. Now, again, I know it's just me. And by the way, Speedy is right now in Connecticut. So if anybody's wondering where Speedy is, he's in Connecticut. I was trying to get him on a feed. That's why we started late. It didn't work out on his side. So it's just me right now flying solo. But right now, when you look at the Jets and you look at football right now, a lot of people aren't watching football. Maybe because of everything that's going on in the world, the presidency. I don't know. The world's falling apart. You have people shooting innocent people in Manhattan to try to prove a point. People stabbing each other here in New York. I have no idea. Blowing things up. I mean, I'm sitting here right now talking sports, trying to entertain you guys. New York sports has been garbage. The world right now is in a frenzy with COVID-19. So you look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, the virtual stuff that's going on. And like I said, going into this segment with the New York Jets, I'm transitioning to New York sports because right now, how could you sit here right now and be happy about New York sports? And the answer is, you can't. Why would you be happy about New York sports? Now, here's the exciting thing about New York sports moving forward. The New York Mets have a new owner. And Steve Cohen. The New York Knicks have a new president in Rose and Wesley. And they brought in Tom Thibodeau, I believe one of the best coaches in the NBA. You talk about the Islanders. They have a great coach right now in Barry Trotz. They have Lou Lamoriello, who's won a couple of Stanley Cups with the Devils, very well world-renowned when it comes to hockey and building organizations. You have the New York Rangers. They have John Davidson. They have a great, even though everybody can't stand James Dolan opens his pockets. New York sports is heading in the right direction. As bad as it has looked in the last couple of years, actually the last 20 years, with basketball, football, baseball, hockey. The only thing that we've been excited to watch, the Yankees haven't even won a World Series since 2009. The last championship a New York sports team has won was the New York Giants in 2011. That was the last time a New York team won a championship. That's bad. So when you talk about the New York Jets, and as a Jet fan, you can only be disgusted about what you have seen with this team. But I do believe there's a light at the end of the tunnel with this Jet team. I do. I think they have a bunch of young players, which I mentioned in the beginning of this monologue. I think the Jets have some pieces that you can build your team around. Mekhi Beckham is going to be, if he could stay healthy, he's going to be one of the best left tackles in football. I do believe Denzel Mims could be a player, a guy that's going to stand out, will definitely stick out like a sore thumb when the Jets actually build the team around the capabilities that this team could possibly bring in the future. I just think that as a fan and as a person that really can't stand watching bad football, you would expect a lot of teams and a lot of people like Jamal Adams to keep their mouths shut about the New York Jets and their organization. Because I will tell you this. Say whatever you want about this organization. These players, these backup players, these young players, they have played hard every single week. Every single week. They got rid of 5 captains in the New York Jets. They got rid of McClendon. They got rid of Avery Williamson. Sam Darnold hasn't played in the last 4 weeks. That's a captain that they lost. They've lost Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Adams. And this team, C.J. Mosley. This team is still kicking. Still trying to play. Still trying to work. So as an organization, you can only, as a fan, and as you watch an organization, everybody thinks is plummeting, whatever the word is. They're actually playing hard for the fans and for themselves because they're playing for a job. So as a Jet fan, you got to take a step back and you got to give the Jets a lot of credit for what they've done the last couple of weeks. You got to give Joe Douglas a little bit of credit for some of the moves that he's made at the trade deadline, what he's trying to do, build around a core of players where the Jets could move forward, not move backwards. I understand that when you look at a lot of these NFL teams, New England, does anybody think New England next year is going to be a Super Bowl contender again? The answer is no. Right now, Philadelphia, what was it, 3.5, 4 years ago, they won a Super Bowl? Look how bad they are this year. Carson Wentz, ever since he tore his MCL and his ACL, he has not been the same quarterback. Where is Philadelphia moving forward? What are they going to do moving forward at the quarterback position? Who knows? And then you see teams like Tennessee. Who would have thought that the Tennessee Titans, with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, who played under Adam Gase, the quarterback whisperer, Adam Gase, in Miami, completely turns into an all-pro, pro ball player over there in Tennessee, under a new coaching staff, under a new offense, with a bunch of new players. There are teams that stand out. There are young quarterbacks like Justin Herbert, who played yesterday against the Jets. Look at what that kid could do. That kid is one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. Hands down, 37 for 49. 366 yards and 3 touchdowns. Phenomenal game. But he's got weapons. He's got Keenan Allen, who had 16 receptions, 145 yards. Mike Williams, Tyson Johnson, Hunter Henry. He's got weapons. And then there are people that can't stand other teams like the Cowboys who don't have a quarterback right now. Their defense looks shameful. They overpaid Lawrence. They overpaid some of the defensive players like Jalen Smith. And now they're in cap hell. And that's the worst thing to be. As an NFL team, as a professional team, everybody can't wait until free agency. Everybody can't wait till the offseason to try to see what kind of transitions or what could this team do in the offseason that could make this team that much better. And then you have teams like the Dallas Cowboys that they're not going to have the money in free agency to find themselves a corner, which they've lacked. They're not going to have the money to find themselves a safety, which they have lacked. So what are they going to do? They're going to depend on the draft. And what is it? All these good GMs, if you're a good GM, what does a GM do? They build around the draft. Joe Douglas is starting to do that. You see that with the Jets. You've seen that even the Mara family. And the Maras have been very successful over really not the last 10 years, but before that, the New York Giants have been a very successful organization. And they built around the draft. Drafting Michael Strahan. Drafting O.C. Umenyor, Justin Tuck. All the players that we've seen. Eli Manning. Victor Cruz. That's how you build a championship, through the draft. That's how you win. Winning comes from the up top, from the GM, from the ownership. So, again, people like to take shots at New York sports and like to take shots at the New York ownership. The Wilpons, we called them the coupons. They stunk. James Dolan opens his pockets but doesn't know when to shut his mouth. I love what the Steinbrenners do because they don't speak up. They really don't say anything. They speak when they're supposed to at their press conferences when they're forced to. You don't really hear from Hal anymore. Hank passed away, may he rest in peace. So you don't hear from the Steinbrenner family. They take winning seriously. The New York Yankees and the organization has taken winning seriously. And when you win, it changes your organization. So, again, going back to New York sports and what New York sports are and who the Jets are as an organization, they're an organization that's growing. Trevor Lawrence is not. I repeat this, and remember I said this. Trevor Lawrence will not opt in to go back to college next year. He will go into the NFL draft. Now, he could tell the Jets that he doesn't want to play for him, and if they draft him, he's not going to play. He could do that. He has every right to do that. We've seen players do that in different sports many, many times. Eli Manning did it in 2004, which he was drafted by San Diego, and then they swapped picks. Phillip Rivers went to San Diego, and Eli Manning went to the Giants, and obviously San Diego got a couple other picks. I think they got another first round and a bunch of other picks. But it worked out for San Diego, even though they never won a Super Bowl. They had an all-pro, Pro Bowl type of quarterback in Phillip Rivers, Hall of Famer, and Eli Manning went to the Giants. Eli won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, and Phillip Rivers, statistically, to me, is the best quarterback in that draft class. So you just never know. So I love it when people take shots, including Jamal Adams. And I called Weapons Hot yesterday, and I said what I said at Weapons Hot. I said my feelings towards Jamal Adams and what he is and what he said to the press. Anybody that believes to think that Jamal Adams, everything that he said about the New York Jets is true, well, you're as gullible as Jamal Adams is. Oh, he was depressed. He hid in his room. He went home, and he hid under his bed, and his father knocked on his door and called his agent. Wah, 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 wah. Jamal Adams is a joke. He's been a joke since he was drafted by the New York Jets a couple of years ago at number 6. Why did 5 teams pass up on arguably one of the best safeties that we've seen in the last 5-6 years coming out of the draft? There had to be a reason. Maybe being a prima donna. Maybe being another Odell Beckham. Maybe just being Jamal Adams. The problem right now is when you look at professional athletes and you look at professional sports now, you wonder, including me, you wonder, where do these athletes have the gall to do the things that they do? Not only to the teams that they play for, but to the fans. When you have Jamal Adams reaching out to the fans after he gets traded, and let's be honest, him reaching out to the fans and telling the fans, thank you for respecting me and taking me in as one of your own, he only said that because he had to, not because he wanted to. Because after he left the New York Jets and that organization, he has done nothing but onslaughted them, thrown them under the bus like they're a piece of garbage of an organization. Who do you think, after he left the New York Jets, who do you think opened his mouth about the cameras in the locker room? Who's trying to throw the Jets under the bus? Then you have all these different football players like Rodney White coming out and saying to Trevor Lawrence that you shouldn't play for the Jets because they stink as an organization. Well, let me ask you this, Rodney. How good was the organization you played for almost 10 years? The Atlanta Falcons. What did they win? What did they win with you? Nothing. Absolutely zilch. And that's what I'm saying. So I know I'm ranting right now. I have my own opinion towards a lot of things that I see in professional sports. But that to me is just alarming when you look at New York sports and how it's slowly but surely it is growing. People don't realize it. It is growing. The problem is it's growing slow because they have made really bad decisions with the GMs they brought in and with the coaches they brought in. Joe Judge looks like he's a coach. The Jets need to find somebody like Joe Judge that could take a locker room and change it. Make them a better, more consistent locker room. That's something I want to see with the New York Jets. That's what I want to see with the New York Mets. That's what I want to see with the Islanders and the Rangers and all the different teams in New York. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, yes, when we come back, we will get into NFL week number 11. We will talk about some of the games yesterday. Definitely have a lot to talk about. We will be back after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is...
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Errol Marks, and there is no co-host tonight. Speedy PD and his mic and whatever he's doing over there in Connecticut. We tried to get him on. I want to apologize to all the fans if they never got the opportunity to see Speedy. Well, you probably are lucky. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And you also could do this. Well, you can download our app. You go to iOS, which is WWSRN, or you go to Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Well. So I wanted to get into yesterday's game. So I'm going to pull up the games. I'm going to put some music on right now, just get some music here. Here's the thing. Cincinnati, it was very, very surprising yesterday that Cincinnati lost Joe Burrows. It's a sad situation because Joe Burrows has been sensational all season long. One of the best young quarterbacks we've seen in a very, very long time. You talk about Justin Herbert. Well, Burrows was the number 1 pick, and he has shown everybody that he is definitely qualified to be the number 1 pick. A matter of fact, in the last couple of years, he's been the best number 1 pick besides Kyler Murray. So it's been now tearing his ACL. He's out for the season. It definitely is something that you have to worry about moving forward with this young quarterback, because when you tear your ACL, you're not the same confident quarterback that you were before you hurt it. It took Tom Brady a long time to figure things out. So, again, I'm very interested to see what Joe Burrows does moving forward next season. Atlanta and New Orleans. Well, here's the thing. Everybody was talking about Jameis Winston starting this game. It was a shocker. It was a real shocker that they decided to start Hill yesterday, and he did not disappoint at all. He really didn't. 18 for 23, 233 yards. I think he ran the ball 10 times for 51 yards. He gives you a different quarterback, a different thought of what a quarterback should be on the field. And he's very elusive. He gives you that running style of game, which is something that I was very surprised that teams didn't realize that he was going to do early in that game. And he completely ran all over the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Atlanta Falcons are not a good team. They're not a good organization right now. They're rebuilding. So I was very surprised that we saw that. But nevertheless, it was very impressive what we saw the Saints do yesterday against the Atlanta Falcons. Pittsburgh staying undefeated, 27 beating the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-3. Jacksonville doesn't even have a starting quarterback. I do believe they're hoping that the New York Jets lose a game because they would have the predominant number one pick, which would be Trevor Lawrence. Nevertheless, it's not bad getting Justin Fields. He did not look good on Saturday, Justin Fields against Indiana, but I do believe Justin Fields is going to have a very good NFL career. Cleveland, ladies and gentlemen, and I will say this. Baker Mayfield, you could say what you want. I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan. Baker Mayfield has looked good as a leader the last couple of weeks with this team. Now, Philadelphia, like I said, I don't know what's going on with Carson Wentz. I don't know what's going on with Peterson. I don't know if Peterson will have his job at the end of the season. I don't know. Because I understand he won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. It's the first Super Bowl the Philadelphia Eagles ever won. But nevertheless, this team has not played well. Now, their wide receiving position has been terrible. Alshon Jeffries has been out the whole season. Deshaun Jackson can't stay on the field. They have no running game right now. The running game is terrible. Something that one of the big parts of their offense, one of the big parts of their game was running the ball, especially when they won the Super Bowl. They have not looked good. They haven't. New England losing against Houston, that was a surprise, okay? Because New England knocked off the Baltimore Ravens last week. Everybody thought after winning 2 games, beating the Jets, Monday Night Football, and then knocking off the Baltimore Ravens last week, you would think going into Houston, they were going to play hard, and Cam Newton was going to keep them in the game. Boy, oh boy, they just did not look good in certain aspects of the game. And by the way, say whatever you want about the Houston Texans. They've played hard every single week. Okay, Cam Newton, 26 for 40, 365 yards, 1 touchdown to Deshaun Watson, who was 28 for 37, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran a touchdown in 36 yards. I mean, he was unbelievable. Deshaun, and that's what the mobile quarterback does on the field. It changes everything. The dynamic of defenses to defend against the ball. So I was very, very surprised on that game. Tennessee knocking off Baltimore. I don't know what's going on with Baltimore. I don't know how many games they've lost in a row. 3, 4? They have not looked good. Baltimore has not looked good. Lamar Jackson has not looked good. I don't even know what Lamar Jackson's numbers were yesterday. I'm going to bring them up right now in just 1 second. Right here. We got, Lamar Jackson, 17 for 29, 186 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Those aren't good numbers. They really aren't. Tannehill threw 22 for 31, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So, I mean, being that you're watching Week 11, you would think that some of these teams would start moving forward, not backwards. But the Baltimore Ravens moving backwards and the Tennessee Titans moving forwards. I mean, Tennessee Titans are one of the most dominant teams this year, especially in the AFC. They've been unbelievable. Ryan Tannehill, it's been unbelievable all season long. Definitely a Pro Bowl candidate, absolutely. And how about Miami losing against Denver? Drew Lock and Tua gets pulled in the 4th quarter, and Fitzpatrick comes back in. Very surprised in that game. Very, very surprised in that game. So, interesting thing moving forward for the Miami Dolphins. Dallas beating Minnesota. Who would have thought the Dallas Cowboys backup quarterback, fifth-string quarterback, knocking off the Minnesota Vikings? They extended Kirk Cousins' contract in the offseason. He's making, I think, $40 million a year. I don't know what Minnesota's going to do in the offseason, but either if I were them, I would trade either Kirk Cousins or be looking for a future quarterback of the organization. Maybe reach out to the New York Jets and ask if Sam Darnold is available. That would be something interesting. Absolutely. Green Bay getting knocked off by Indianapolis, coming back at the end of the fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers' heroics. Aaron Rodgers is unbelievable. Last minute of the game, who do I depend on throwing the ball and getting the ball in the right area? Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are the guys, and Drew Brees, to make the plays in the open field. But Aaron Rodgers threw that 50-some-odd yard pass, took it all the way down. They kicked the field goal, went to overtime, and then one of their running backs dropped the ball and cost them the game. Field goal kick, game over. Kansas City knocking off Vegas. I'll tell you this right now. Vegas has played Kansas City better than anybody. And I will say this. Kansas City does not want to see Vegas in the playoffs. They don't. And then Seattle getting knocked off. Seattle knocking off Arizona in Thursday Night Football. It was an interesting week. It really was in the NFL. But again, we can go back and forth and we can argue our points, where the NFL is going, where some of these teams are going. All in all, we about know who's going to make it in the NFC and who's going to make it in the AFC. There's maybe one or two teams that might stand out in the wild card positions. I don't know what's going on with Baltimore. I picked Baltimore to go to the Super Bowl with the talent they have, with the injuries they've been fighting this year. Lamar Jackson hasn't been the same player. I think Baltimore might fall out of the playoffs. There are too many good teams. Pittsburgh's having a sensational year. They're 10-0. Pittsburgh's having the best season of their existence. And you're talking about arguably the best franchise in NFL history. They're having the best season of their franchise career. It's amazing. It really is. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will get into some basketball. We'll talk some Knicks coming right up, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you?
Hold on.
And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can go to our app. All you have to do is go to iOS, WWSRN, or you can go to Android, worldwidesportsradio.com. I want to apologize to all the fans of the late startup. We had technical difficulties, and really, I was actually going to cancel the show, but I definitely, to me, I want to make the show, and I want to make sure that the show must go on. It's definitely not one of my best shows, but we finally got Speedy on the line. What's going on, Speedy?
Hey, how you doing, Errol? Like I said, good first couple of segments.
No, they were bad, and I wasn't very excited to do the show with everything that was going on today, with all the technical difficulties I've had in the studio since you weren't in here and trying to do it in Connecticut. So I don't really want to get into it. I don't want to upset myself. But I want to get into the NBA draft. And everybody was talking about the NBA draft and the thoughts of Obi Toppin going to the New York Knicks, and I got to get to know Obi Toppin and quickly by some of the interviews, some of the different interviews they've interviewed the last couple of weeks. The last week they've been interviewing different radio shows. I saw him on ESPN. I also I heard Obi Toppin on WFAN on the Craig Carton and Robert show. So. Speedy, when you look at this year's draft and you look at some of the good players, we saw LaMelo Ball, we've seen Wiseman, we've seen Edwards. What player really sticks out to you in this year's draft, and who are some of the winners and losers in this year's draft?
For me, I think one of the big winners of this draft definitely is, I think, the Dallas Mavericks. I think did very well. Josh Green, 18th overall pick. A lot of those Arizona players I definitely liked out of the draft. I kept telling you off air, I wanted the Knicks with their second pick to bring Mannion, who went to Golden State. Another big winner. They got him and they got Wiseman. They're definitely one. I think Dallas did well. The Knicks are definitely one of them too. I give them a lot of credit. Obi Toppin, I think, was the best player they could have drafted in that spot. I think they did a nice job. I like Oturu in the second round, one of the best centers in the nation last year. And if it wasn't for Luka Garza, it's probably Big Ten Player of the Year for Minnesota. And then Emmanuel quickly. I don't love it, but again, he's a great shooter, and it's a shooting league. That's what you need. So they definitely did a great job as well.
Now, why are you seeing all the free agency and some of the different players that have gone different areas? You're hearing the New York Knicks have added Rivers for low money. They need shooters. They need wing shooters. What free agent stands out to you in free agency so far in the last couple of days? And what should the Knicks do moving forward with their point guard problem?
Yeah, it's interesting because, again, we're hearing Chris Paul, we're hearing Russell Westbrook with these trades for point guards. Right now, there's not much in terms of the point guards available for the Knicks to look at it, unless they just want to bring in a veteran just to be kind of a placeholder. We saw Ricky Rubio already go to Minnesota. We saw, obviously, the Pelicans or the Bucks make a trade with Drew Holiday and Eric Bledsoe. I mean, those could have been options maybe in a potential three-way trade. We saw that four-team trade with the Mavericks and the Pelicans, and I think Denver was involved in that too. So definitely a lot of different things they could do with that. But, Russell Westbrook still seems like the most likely. We both have said it on the air. It's one of the two teams he wants to go to. They don't have to spend much to get him because he already has a big contract. And like I said many times, I think that the Rockets having a new GM, I think that Knicks have a chance really to kind of fleece them for Russell Westbrook, as good of a player as he is.
So you heard Marc Gasol sign with the Lakers. There were stories coming out in Marc Gasol's camp that he was going to go back to Spain and finish up his career over there in Barcelona, but he decided to sign with the Lakers. Was there a reason in your eyes why he decided to go play for the Lakers instead of going to Barcelona and finishing his basketball career?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's not like he has to go win a title. He won his title with Toronto, and it's kind of interesting considering that because, again, he is very prideful about his country. He's one of the best in terms of the Olympics, him and his brother, over the years playing for Team Spain. They've won a couple of medals. I don't think any gold medals, but a couple of medals just overall. So it's definitely surprising that kind of thing did happen where he would want to go back into the NBA. I might have just missed the NBA game. And for the Lakers, it's good because they just lost Dwight Howard. He went to the 76ers, so they get a replacement big man. A guy that I think is still is more well-rounded. Even though Dwight Howard is good at what he's good at, Gasol is more well-rounded and could help in terms of the modern NBA.
Were you surprised that Bradley Beal has not been traded or John Wall has not been traded by the Wizards after bringing in Denis, who is a young phenom? A lot of people say that this is what the Wizards want to build around. They want to build around this kid. Are you surprised that Bradley Beal and John Wall are still there, or do you believe one of them is going to be traded before the season starts?
Yeah, I think Wall will definitely be traded. Now that that's the case, I think you're going to see Avdia because he is a good ball handler. I think you're going to see him be able to work that out. And they had other guys on their bench when Wall was hurt that stepped up in their absence. So I think you're going to just see a mixed. Beal's the one they're going to get a little more in terms of a price for, so I think they're maybe being a little more patient with that. They're waiting for that big offer, that monstrous offer of 3, maybe 4 first-round picks or something, which Bradley Beal, again, he's a great player. Maybe, I don't know if he's the best shooting guard in the NBA, but he's definitely up there. He definitely has had great all-star caliber years where he's elite. So maybe they're just waiting for that kind of trade rather than trying to rush it now or they're trying to force it out, because we've seen the Wizards definitely rebuild in a very different way to try to get deeper.
Donovan Mitchell, story coming out over there in Utah that they gave him an extension, a 5-year extension worth about $195 million. So all you Knicks fans out there that thought Donovan Mitchell could have an opportunity to go play in his hometown where he wants to play in New York, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen for another 5 years. By the time, I think Donovan Mitchell is 25 now. By the time he becomes a free agent, he'd be 30 years old again. So and probably on the outbreak of his the back end of his career. So what is your thoughts about Donovan Mitchell signing that big contract with Utah?
Yeah, I was surprised too. We see the tension with him and Gobert, and we both agreed that Gobert was the more likely to be traded if that tension really is true. But yeah, it's definitely something where I thought the Knicks maybe finally were going to struck gold with one of these big name free agents, but again, Mitchell, now that seems not likely. It seems like Russell Westbrook's even more likely because of that. I was hoping for Mitchell. I didn't know how big of a chance it was going to be necessarily, but it's something that Utah, they did the right thing in terms of locking him up over Gobert. As good of a defensive player as Gobert is, it's more the offense all-around game with Mitchell that's really going to lead this team forward.
Jason Tatum signs a big-time contract, an extension with the Celtics. Obviously, everybody knows what the Celtics are trying to do. They're trying to build around Jason Tatum. Gordon Hayward is gone. You bring in Tristan Thompson, and now there are stories coming out that a lot of people say that Kemba Walker might want his way out of there too. Now that the Celtics are rebuilding or I guess doing whatever you call it. I guess restocking up. What are your thoughts about possibly bringing Kemba Walker here in New York?
Kemba Walker being traded, I don't know if that's a real thing. I think that's just a smokescreen right now. I can't see that kind of thing after 1 year be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tatum, as good of a player as he is on his own, be that type of guy. And the Celtics have been such streaky offensive players over the years, and especially in the playoffs. And you even said it many times with Brad Stevens that he might be on the hot seat if they don't get anything going with this. But Danny Ainge, too. A lot of Celtics fans are criticizing him. So I don't know if Danny Ainge is going to make that drastic remove. We really don't see that kind of thing. So I think in terms of that kind of move, I think that's more just a smoke screen. Maybe they're trying to sell high on him because Danny Ainge likes to fleece people, but I don't really see that as being that much of a big rumor.
And how about the New York Knicks free agency? They added some pretty decent players, Austin Rivers being one of them. They brought back Alfred Payton because he played pretty well in the second half of the season. Some of the moves that the Knicks made, also bringing Nerlens Noel, which obviously you see the New York Knicks are trying to build around Kentucky players, I guess. What are your thoughts of the New York Knicks adding some of the players that they have?
Well, let's not forget about the Kentucky part. That John Calipari is now the ESPN insider because the rest of their insiders didn't know that Emmanuel Quickley was being drafted there. So it's definitely very interesting. I actually like the Noel signing, though. I always thought he would still have something to prove. I don't think he's not going to be what he was supposed to be. But, again, I always thought he served a role. He's versatile. He's long. And I think that kind of thing can help. Somebody like Toppin could definitely learn under him. Obviously, Robinson, kind of very similar players. The point guard depth, I think maybe they're just trying to have backup plans in case they can't get a big name. Because, again, Westbrook is the big name they're looking at. But if that falls short and ends up going to the Clippers, then you just have a rotation of that. Where they're trying to maybe be like the Suns last year. They had a stopgap point guard until a bunch of young players to build around. And maybe until they got Chris Paul this year. Now that's their big name. So maybe the Knicks are trying to do something like that. In case they don't get Westbrook.
Now, a lot of people think that the Knicks are going to try to flop and try to get this kid, Cade Cunningham, who's coming out of the draft next year. He's the big name. Everybody keeps talking about him. He's a point guard. He's a guard. Some people think he's the next big John Morant or John Wall. His abilities are phenomenal. He's a great shooter. When you look at the New York Knicks and you look at what Leon Rose is doing, do you think they're going to do everything they can to tank this year, or are they going to play hard for Tom Thibodeau this year, win a lot more games than people expect with the players in the roster that they have? Or do you think that the Knicks are just trying to build inside and see where it goes moving forward in the new in this new season, which could be 60 to 70 games?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to tank under Thibodeau. I don't think Thibodeau's going to let them tank by any means. They're going to play hard. If they get Westbrook, I think they're a playoff team, probably a low-end playoff team. They're still with the young players, but I think they're in the Eastern Conference. They're still a playoff team because it's not that good. It might be a below 500 playoff team, but it's a playoff team with Westbrook. If it's not Westbrook and they don't really do anything else significant, it might be something where they're a growing team, a fringe team, kind of like we saw with the Wizards last year. They took some strides with young players without Wall, and now they maybe have faith in trading him as a result. Teams that make strides, you've seen Orlando, they're still under 500. They've taken strides with young players. I think that's what you're going to see with Thibodeau there, because I don't think Thibodeau is going to take tanking, lack of effort as being a sign of we're going to grow this way. I don't think that's why they brought him in. I can't see them just changing their mindset. I like Cade Cunningham from what I've heard, but I don't think they're just going to change their mindset just for the one player.
Well, again, the New York Knicks are a team right now rebuilding. They have some good young pieces in Toppin, Quickly, R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and even Kevin Knox, if they decide to keep Kevin Knox and Ntilikina. This is one of the youngest teams in the NBA. This is a very young team. I think Tom Thibodeau is going to have his work cut out for him. But I like what this new regime is doing. I like what Wesley and Rose is doing. I like what Thibs is doing, bringing in some of these young players, seeing what they have with some of the product that they have in the organization right now and what they could do from stacking up in free agency and the draft. What about really stacking some draft picks? They bring in the journeyman Ed Davis for 2 second-round draft picks in 2023, and then they trade him yesterday for another second-round draft pick, which would make 3 second-round draft picks for one player that's a journeyman that really is not that great of a player. They trade him to the Timberwolves to get another second. So what about getting 3 second-round draft picks in 2023 for one player that is a journeyman?
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, they made it work out of that because, again, Thibodeau is going to build up the young big men. So, I mean, a veteran big man always helps, but you'd rather have the draft picks when you're still a rebuilding team. And especially since you don't know what he's going to look like in 2023, just to have the extras, whether it's a big name player in that draft or a big name player in the next draft, or even trading for a star at that point if the young players are more developed. 3 years is a lot of time in basketball to be able to know where a team is. But at the same time, we also see teams, big name teams, if free agency strikes right, to get quick fixes right away. Now, obviously, the Knicks haven't had that kind of luck, as we know, but maybe the tides turn finally. Maybe Russell Westbrook's that guy. Maybe it's a free agent next year. Who knows? But that kind of thing is definitely helpful to make that kind of move. Whether it is a superstar, whether it is a big name prospect, like maybe whatever the 2023 Cade Cunningham version of the 2023 of this year's draft with Edwards or Wiseman or somebody like that, LaMelo Ball.
Well, I did hear that, and I'll tell you what I heard about Quickly. And a lot of people have come back from the New York Knicks organization saying that Tom Thibodeau looks at Quickly as another Butler from Chicago when he drafted. That's what they say. He has a tremendous upside, his shooting ability. He's not the defensive player that Butler was. But Butler wasn't the shooter that he became when he went over there with Tom Thibodeau and the Chicago Bulls. So maybe he can transition quickly to a defensive style of game, and he's a great shooter. Yes, a lot of people, his size, his ability. Also, they compare his skill, his shooting ability to Kevin Durant. So I'm not saying he's Kevin Durant. I'm not saying he has the ability of Kevin Durant, but I'm saying that this is what a lot of these projections that we've heard from the New York Knicks organization. So it's very, very interesting moving forward for the New York Knicks. So who do you have this year? I mean, if you look at right now in the NBA, is there a team that really sticks out? I think the Lakers have made the most progress and made the most move after coming off another championship. LeBron James has another chance to win back-to-back championships. And you say whatever you want about LeBron James, and a lot of people say, is he going to win 6 championships? The way he's going with the Lakers and what's going on with Golden State with the injuries they're dealing with, and now the Western Conference is going back and forth. You don't know who the Clippers are going to bring in or who they're going to keep. You don't know what's going on with the Timberwolves. Are they going to be able to keep some of their players? Are they going to decide to move D'Angelo Russell? I mean, it's so iffy right now in the NBA. So who are your favorites right now to come out and win a championship?
Well, one of the things with the Lakers, as good as they've done this offseason, that concerns me is because the fact the season is so going to start right in a month. It's so quickly to come. How much will potential load management hurt LeBron James and Anthony Davis? And LeBron especially, we've seen it the last probably 6 years, has really done a due diligence with load management, managing certain games, especially in the middle of the season. So with a finals run that just happened in September, now having to go a quick off season to January, is that going to affect them in the beginning of the season where they could lose a potential top seed? And again, will that end up hurting LeBron and Anthony Davis and players like that? But again, he's done a great job this offseason. Contract and stealing him from the Clippers is an absolute steal. I just saw on Adrian Wojnarowski's Twitter they got Jordan Bell and Alfonso McKinney, which are both championship players with the Warriors off the bench, which is always good for experience. And Gasol, like we mentioned before, is definitely going to help put them down too. Replacing some of the veterans, they've done it before. I can't see them not trying to do that again, especially with LeBron loving quote unquote his guys. So that'll definitely make a difference. The Clippers, love to see with them now having Tyronn Lue. I just don't like him as a coach. I think they'll drop off a little bit. The Stars will get them far, but I think you're going to see the Lakers and probably the Nuggets be the threats in the West. And in the East, Miami is not going to go away anytime soon. And then Milwaukee, if the Nuggets are still there, is not going to go away anytime soon because they still have a good team. But can they get it done in the playoffs?
Yeah, and also you look at the Celtics, the new Celtics, how are they going to hold up? How are they going to play with Tristan Thompson? Their Gordon Hayward is gone now. And there are still good teams in the Western and the Eastern Conference. I mean, there are teams that do stand out. Like you said, Miami is a team that really showed what type of championship competitive team they could be in the future. With Butler, he's become a superstar. He's one of right now. If you were to ask me who are the top 5 players in the NBA, I would put Butler as one of my top 5 players. He's been unbelievable with the Miami Heat. He completely transitioned and changed that team. They've been unbelievable. Why don't we get into some baseball conversation? What do the Mets do right now in the offseason? I know George Springer is their number one target. Where do they look to rebuild this team and this organization with Uncle Stevie running the organization?
Yeah. I think Springer is definitely the biggest start because he's the most well-rounded player when it comes from a bat perspective. Because the Mets have always had a revolving door of older outfielders in the past. Obviously, we know about the Wilpon being cheap. So I would love Springer. Like Josh was mentioning a couple days ago, he's probably a better option over Ozuna just because he's a better defender than Ozuna. Even though I don't think Ozuna is as bad as people think defensively. I think George Springer is definitely an upgrade in that area. And then it's pitching depth after that. I think they've got to focus on that because their offensive depth is actually pretty good. They have, even with losing Cano to the suspension, they still have enough infielders where I don't really think they need to go drastically hard to replace him. We mentioned LeMahieu on Wednesday. I would love it, but again, it's still going to be a lot. So in terms of prioritizing pitching, I think that's the direction they should go in, especially, again, with an unknown with Syndergaard. Could they trade him? They're losing. They got Stroman back, but, again, how good is he really? I mean, he hasn't really pitched well with the Mets yet, so that's tough to tell. And the bullpen depth, I mean, the names are there. Is the management of it there? And will they actually perform is another question. So that might be something more of a trade deadline thing. Maybe starting pitching depth is where they go for. I love a guy like Jake Odorizzi. I mean, Charlie Morton is a pipe dream, but I don't think that's going to happen. But
Charlie Morton's more of a guy that the Yankees would be interested in.
I definitely could see that. That's what I'm thinking for the Mets. It's probably more of a pipe dream, but I think definitely some depth in that area could help because the Mets have done well with certain starting pitchers too, the past veteran guys that have made work at least for the short term. But again, with Cohen, obviously he's going to spend a lot more too. So, well, it's also a matter for Cohen too, whether you want to keep those relievers or not that is already there that other GMs have made trades for.
Yeah, and also when you look at the Mets are going to have the money that they can go after some relief pitchers. And you say they have a lot of relief pitchers. They have a lot of names in their bullpen. Who? Dellin Betances? He only signed a 1-year contract. Are they going to extend him? Are they going to give him an extension? Are they going to trade Diaz? I know baseball season doesn't start until I think the baseball season, spring training starts in February. So do they decide to move on from Diaz and maybe trade him? I know they gave up a top prospect for Diaz, but he has not panned out. He has not looked good ever since Brody Van Wagenen made that trade for Diaz and Robinson Cano for their top-end prospect, their outfield and prospect. So do you think, looking at the big picture, do you think that some of these guys might be gone? Maybe you trade McNeil or one of those guys to bring in another big-time player in the infield to solidify the middle of their lineup?
I think the direction they're going to go in, unless it is, again, one big name, I think the direction they're going to go in is still more focused on the pitching. Because you're right, they have a lot of names that haven't worked out. Diaz being one of them so far. Maybe they trade him now before his value gets any worse. Jerry Familia, who I didn't want in the first place, when they re-signed him back after they traded him to Oakland. He pitched well at times, but it was really only for like a 2-week stretch. Relievers I like that I think they'll hang on to Seth Lugo, Justin Wilson, guys like that, but they don't. Again, they need more of guys that will actually work. The chances is definitely a question mark. He always is. I think the short season is something that's tough to tell with him because he's always, you know this as a Yankee fan, he has his 2 weeks where he's terrible and then he'll bounce back and be phenomenal. So it's just a matter of which the chances you're going to get. I think that's tough to tell in a short season.
Did you hear that the Mets interviewed the GM coming from the Marlins that just got fired, Hill? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did, which is interesting for a low market team with now the richest owner in baseball. That's a very interesting combination. They're going to make that work. So we'll have to see how. I have to do more research on him in terms of how analytically driven he is, because he definitely has done well with, again, development and finding gems that maybe just fit in that particular season. Obviously, a shortened season, and we both agree I don't think the Marlins would have made the playoffs if it was a regular length season.
Well, also look at the players he drafted in Florida. Look what he did in Miami and what he brought in. I mean, he brought in some superstars. Ozuna. I mean, you go through Giancarlo Stanton. All those guys were drafted by Hill.
Yelich, yeah.
Yelich. They were all drafted by Hill. So,
and that's something that definitely could be a benefit. Now, again, in terms of translating that to a higher market team, and a team in the Mets that, again, we've seen them do better lately with developing position players, but it's not really a big strength of them as a franchise. Will that kind of thing transfer over in terms of one organization and the other? Because the Marlins are always one of those teams that develop hitters a little better than pitchers, kind of as a track record type thing, and then they just have trouble signing the back contracts after that. So will that kind of thing translate to the Mets? It's an interesting combination, but maybe a franchise-altering type thing that it's risky if that's the case, but you're right. He's definitely a good player to build.
And where do the Yankees go in free agency? I'm going to cut you off because you don't shut up. So where do the Yankees go in free agency, knowing that they're going to lose James Paxton? Masahiro Tanaka is a free agent. Do the Yankees bring him back on a year or 2-year extension? You're not going to overpay him now. I mean, he did not look good in the playoffs. He still has that little tear in his UCL. He really hasn't been the dominant force that we thought he was going to be when he came from Japan. A lot of people thought after he tore his UCL in his first year, his numbers were Cy Young numbers, and he completely fell off after the injury. So do the Yankees bring in another pitcher? Do they bring in a Morton? Do they decide to maybe bring James Paxton in for a year? Now there are stories coming out that James Paxton wants an extension, at least a 2 or 3 year extension. Where do the Yankees go in free agency?
I'm going to say they definitely should target Morton. That's, I think, the biggest thing for them because they need a playoff guy, and Morton's a playoff guy. Big Game 7 pitcher. We saw it with the Rays this year against the Astros. We saw it with the Astros, obviously, when they cheated their way to a World Series, but not his fault. He's not a hitter. And that's what the Yankees need. That's the biggest thing the Yankees need. And there's a reason a lot of people thought that Madison Bumgarner was the perfect fit. It was for that reason. And Morton's even better at this point in his career than Bumgarner is. So that's definitely when they can go. And I would try to re-sign Tanaka for the sole purpose of, I think his playoff blip this year was more of a rhythm-based thing of how the season went. It wasn't a conventional playoff in comparison to a full season where he's locked down. Because he's normally bad in the middle of the season. In the middle of the season, in this case, in terms of the timing-wise, is the playoffs.
And is there a team right now in the National League with free agency and some of the young players coming up that is going to really stand out this year? I know you're going to say the Atlanta Braves, but take the Braves out. Is there a young team right now that's going to – how about the Marlins? Are they for real after having that 60-game season and actually making the playoffs? A lot of people are giving a lot of praise to Derek Jeter because they made the playoffs in a 60-game season. Do you think the Marlins are real, or do you think they're just pretenders?
I think somewhere in between. They're not going to be the same dud that we thought they would be, where they would be the worst team in the National League, but I think they'll fall back to earth a little bit, where teams, again, are not going to play down to them all the time, and it's been kind of a fluky year where the Nationals are just so bad all at once. The Phillies were injured, and, again, they just had no pitching. I can't see that kind of thing just happening again. I think those two teams, to an extent, will bounce back. So they're going to be okay, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. They are still young and growing, though, and that's what they're going for, and especially now, hopefully with their new female GM, a trendsetter, a pioneer for sure, and hopefully she could do some good things for that team too. Because again, that's a really awesome thing that they did for her and for the organization.
Okay, so what National League team stands out to you? Young National League team that could really stand out and make some noise this offseason?
Cincinnati, I think, is definitely one because again
they're losing Trevor Bauer, so I don't know about that.
Right. Now the reason I say that is because they're not having to pay Trevor Bauer, they can go into more of a quality state where they don't have a lot of other big contracts on their roster. Outside of Joey Votto, they really don't have much in the way of big contracts. They traded away other veteran pieces. And again, they have young hitters that didn't play well in the shortened season, and then they got hot at the end of the season. And this kind of year also kind of proved the National League Central is still winnable, too. The Brewers regressed a little. The Cubs, I don't know what they are right now. And the Cardinals, they are what they are. They can be pesky, but they're not overly talented. So if the Reds get a couple guys, maybe they get the quantity of pitchers to replace the $30 million that Bauer's probably going to get, that can make a difference.
Chicago White Sox, there was a reason why Tony La Russa came back from the Hall of Fame rant and working for the major leagues and retirement. Why did he come back? He's close to his 80s now. He's coming back coaching one of the best young teams in professional baseball. Was there a reason why he came to coach the Chicago White Sox?
My guess would be he played there. Maybe that's something he's been wanting, a managing the job he's been wanting. And the White Sox having been so badly run for a while, maybe it just wasn't enticing at the times that he was available for that hire. After he was at Oakland and then with the Cardinals, and then he went to the Diamondbacks front office. And maybe it's just now they're finally enticing with all the young players, and maybe his style that ends up working. They're still going to be analytic-driven. They're still going to have that front office mentality, but they're also going to get that leadership from Lewis. So, assuming that he's actually going to be there the whole season, because there was the report of the drunk driving charge and him saying such stupid things. Oh, you shouldn't pull me over to the Hall of Fame. Or if MLB suspends him for that, that could be something that could hurt them too. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to try with that kind of thing.
No, he's a Hall of Famer, so it doesn't really matter, you know. The world has to stop because he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you're above the law.
He's a Hall of Famer, so the world just needs to stop, okay? So I could say I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm in the high school Hall of Fame, so the world needs to stop. I'm in the Hall of Fame, so you can't arrest me. Yeah, great.
No,
Absolutely.
nothing bad could ever happen to you.
Oh, it could definitely happen to me. It happens to a lot of people. I mean, if you know how to speak, maybe you get yourself out of mischief and trouble. But again, Tony La Russa with his interesting take, that's for sure. So what are your thoughts to this past week in week number 11 for the NFL? Was there a particular team that stood out to you, a particular player that stood out to you, being that the season right now is almost over? I mean, you're going into week 12 next week. There's only really 5 more weeks left, and then you have the playoffs. Is there a team and is there a player that sticks out to you moving into the playoffs or possibly an MVP candidate?
I was actually very impressed yesterday in particular, even though they lost the game with the the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that was definitely a big showcase that they can be competitive.
They know how to beat Kansas City. They're the only team. They're one of the only teams that I think knows how to beat them. And I'll tell you this right now: Kansas City does not want to play Las Vegas in the playoffs. I guarantee you this: they play Vegas in the playoffs. I think they could beat Kansas City. They beat Kansas City in Kansas City. So I think they're quite capable of knocking off a Kansas City Chief team. They just know him. And John Gruden, say whatever you want. They defend them very, very well. They cause a lot of problems for the offense and Andy Reid and Mahomes. Mahomes looks like sometimes he's wondering what kind of play he's going to call, if he's going to audible at the line of scrimmage, if they're going to bring a blitz package or if they're not. And I'll tell you this, the Vegas Raiders, they're not a team that you can say, wow, that defense is unbelievable. But they play well against Kansas City. And Mahomes, if he didn't make that unbelievable throw to Travis Kelce yesterday, I think the Vegas Raiders, whatever, I hate it. It's so stupid, Vegas. I'm going to call them the Oakland Raiders because that's what they are. The Raiders, you would think that the Raiders would have won that game. That would have been 2 games in a row against Kansas City. The only loss that the Kansas City Chiefs have this year is against the Raiders.
And they're also showing, I think they have more depth than people think, too. Because remember, they had 10 players that didn't practice all week because of COVID. I think there were 5 of them that didn't actually play. They were starting players on the defense. And they had guys step up in their place. The secondary that isn't good on paper. And outside of David Arnett and the backup safety, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Guys hung tough against these really tough receivers. Tyreek Hill had a nice first quarter, but didn't do much after that. And Travis Kelce, again, had his great stretch at the end of the game. They took him out in the beginning of the game. So they have at least the coaching that helped them out in that area. And that can make a difference when it comes to the playoffs. Good coaching always wins, no matter how good your roster is first.
And that's why I've been saying this over and over again. Bruce Arians is not a good playoff coach, and that's why I believe that no matter how talented this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is moving forward, they are going to have problems in the playoffs. And I will say that. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay gets knocked off in the first round. Okay, I could see it.
You also say it's also inexperience, though, too, with Arians, because his first year, he had a third-string quarterback. So you're not going to win a playoff game with Ryan Lindley. And then it was just the one bad run after that. They beat Green Bay, but then they got smoked by Carolina. And then he hasn't been back since.
I just don't trust Bruce Arians to make the right calls at the right time that's going to help him win a Super Bowl. That's what I think. And Bill Belichick is he's a different beast. I think Bill Belichick has a lot of, he's a main reason why I believe the Patriots have won 6 championships. I'm not saying Tom Brady was a big part of it, but he's a player. The play calling, the coach is the most important position when it comes to professional football.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still think, too, especially if the Bucs don't end up winning the division, that's going to make it hard for them, too, because then the Saints are going to be the number 1 seed. And they were another team that I think yesterday proved they can win with their defense, and that's a big deal. Atlanta's still a talented offense, and they held them to 9 points, 3 field goals. That was it. And if the Saints can win with defense, you know how well-rounded they already are. That's going to be a big deal, too, especially if they end up with the number 1 seed. And who knows, maybe they have the limited fans where they can still have that kind of home crowd advantage to make a difference, too.
Well, before we go, there was a signing that I think is very, very interesting in the NBA. Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins signs with Houston, which is very, very interesting because Russell Westbrook is still there. James Harden is still there. You add Cousins there. If Cousins is even half the player he was when he was drafted, and if he could stay healthy, that's a pretty good lineup. That's a pretty dangerous lineup.
So you think they did that specifically to entice
Yes.
Harden and Westbrook to want to stay?
Yes, I do. Now, I don't know how good DeMarcus Cousins is going to be. I mean, the guy can't stay healthy. But when healthy, he's a great player. He was one of the best big men in the NBA.
I thought for at least 3 years he was the best center in the NBA. He was really not good. And it's just, again, all those injuries caught up to him with the way his body type is. And even going to the Warriors when he was there for that 1 year, he had that trouble towards the end of the season with injuries. He was playing well in certain playoff games before that, though. He was actually, I think, either Western Conference Finals or one of the games against Toronto in the NBA Finals, he was their best player, too. So I don't think his skills have definitely gone away. So we'll see. We'll see if that definitely works to keep him there because, again, that kind of player can be that good. And the Rockets have needed that.
Well, Speedy, are we going to actually have a working setup over there on Wednesday so we can actually do a clean and good show? Because I was not very happy with this show. I really wasn't. I'm just letting you know. I'm sure whoever's listening to the show is probably not even interested to watch this show because I just think it was the worst show possibly known to man. So you better get your you-know-what together for Wednesday. I can tell you that right now because I am not going to go and deal with this again before a show and getting ready and trying to figure out what the content is. I understand you want to go and see your family. I understand it. It's the holidays. But you need to do your job, too. Your job comes first, then family. So just make sure that you're on your A game for Wednesday. That's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will definitely be back on Wednesday. It will be a better show, a more interesting show, and more banter show, so stay tuned for that. I will say this to Jet fans and to all those Jamal Adams supporters. You guys need to open your damn eyes because this man has been nothing but an absolute joke to the organization. He should be really ashamed of himself throwing the New York Jets the way he has done. You would think that after getting what he wanted, he would throw the Jets a bone. Instead, he's trying to bury the Jets. And it makes absolutely no sense. This is an organization that gave him what he wants, crying for joy when he was traded to Seattle. Well, cry for joy and keep your mouth shut. We'll be back Wednesday. We still have a bunch of shows, even though it's a holiday week. We still have a bunch of shows airing live on our network this week, so stay tuned for that. Definitely tomorrow, the BS Sports Show. Wednesday, we have a bunch of shows. Our show, we have the Hit List. We have all the shows. There's so many shows on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. I guess until then, this is Errol Marks and our Speedy Petey over there in Connecticut, and we will talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids.
You, my friend, better get your shit.
There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency.
I'm not doing this.
Find free adult education classes near you.
Because I had
and
a great
finish
show
your
lined
high
up,
school
and this was
diploma.
one of the worst shows.
Visit
One of the worst shows
finishyourdiploma.org.
I've ever done.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779.
I'm not happy.